The drama surrounding the Cleveland Browns has reached a fever pitch, and what was once just another preseason decision has turned into the defining storyline of their entire year. The skies above Berea might have been clear, but inside the facility, the tension was suffocating. Kevin Stefanski stood before the cameras, poised and professional, as he announced Dylan Gabriel as the Browns' starting quarterback. The flashes went off, pens scratched against notepads, but there was no mistaking what everyone in that room felt. This wasn't a celebration of stability. It was the calm before a storm named Shadur Sanders. As Gabriel smiled for the cameras. Somewhere behind him stood Sanders, helmet in hand, eyes sharp, expression unreadable. That quiet confidence radiated from him like static before a lightning strike. He didn't need to speak. His presence said it all. The Browns might have crowned a starter on paper, but in spirit, the locker room already knew the truth. This wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Every veteran, every fan, every insider could feel it. The moment Stefanski named Gabriel the starter, he didn't end the debate. He sparked a countdown. The fuse had been lit, and now it was only a matter of time before it burned all the way down to number 12. This franchisers has lived through its share of quarterback chaos, from Baker Mayfield's emotional roller coaster to the Deshaun Watson debacle that still casts a long shadow. The front office is desperate for a savior, someone to steady the ship and restore credibility. But stability isn't the same thing as greatness. Stefanski wants control. Jimmy Haslam wants tickets sold. Andrew Berry wants to keep ownership calm. But momentum doesn't listen to coaches or contracts. And right now, it's running full speed toward Shadur Sanders. The whispers started quietly in the hallways, in the locker room corners, and in the media rooms. Everyone noticed the same thin clips of Shedeur in practice were pulling more views online than the Browns' official highlights. His name alone could make a segment trend on ESPN. Every throw he made in warm-ups seemed to stir something in the crowd. It wasn't hype anymore. It was expectation. Fans weren't asking for Shadur, they were demanding him. Then came Dylan Gabriel's moment at the podium after practice. He smiled politely, said all the right things, and then slipped in one line that detonated across social media within minutes. "I'm ready to lead until the team feels it's time for something else." That something else was all anyone needed to hear. The quote spread like wildfire. Within hours, it was everywhere at ESPN, Fox Sports, Cleveland radio. The narrative flipped on its head. Gabriel wasn't the unquestioned leader anymore. He was a placeholder, the man keeping the seat warm for destiny. And destiny had a name. Later that same day, a practice clip went viral. Shadur Sanders launching a 40-yard strike to Jerry Jeudy, hitting him perfectly in stride. The sideline erupted. Fans chanted. Even the veterans couldn't help but grin. Shedeur jogged back to the huddle with a smirk that said everything words couldn't. Stefanski tried to brush it off at the next press conference, calling it a good problem to have. But his expression told another story. His grip on the situation was slipping. The fallout was immediate. By the next morning, Berea felt less like a training facility and more like a courtroom. The media dissected every comment, every glance, every tiny gesture. Stefanski, known for his stoicism, was reportedly livid that the narrative had spun out of control. He wanted a clean transition, a quiet preseason, but instead, he got chaos disguised as competition. Behind closed doors, ownership meetings turned heated. Jimmy Haslam demanded answers. Why was every headline about Shadur instead of the team? Andrew Berry tried to defend the plan, insisting development takes time. But even he couldn't ignore the analytics. Shadur's footage wasn't just trending, it was outperforming the team's official content by a staggering margin. The fans had made their decision. Inside the locker room, it was even harder to contain. Myles Garrett and Jerry Jeudy were overheard joking that the offense just feels different when Shadur's running it. In a building this tense, comments like that spread fast. Stefanski could preach competition all he wanted, but everyone knew the truth. You can't coach chemistry, and the team already had it with Sanders. Practice sessions became more than practice, they became auditions. Dylan Gabriel was calm and calculated, every motion technically sound. But Shadur brought something else, something you can't measure on tape: presence. He processed defenses quicker, adapted faster, and carried himself like someone who'd already lived this moment 1,000 times in his head. Players noticed. Coaches noticed. Even Gabriel noticed. Rumor has it, after every missed throw, Gabriel would glance toward the sideline, where Shadur stood watching silently, waiting, under the stadium lights. After official practice ended, Shadur would stay behind, running extra sessions with Jeudy and David Njoku. They worked routes until the field lights dimmed, the sound of their cleats echoing in the empty stands. That wasn't a backups routine. That was a man preparing to lead. And when players see that level of commitment, it's hard not to believe in it. Meanwhile, Shadur's performances in practice became impossible to overlook. Reporters started using the term shadow reps to describe how Sanders ran the second-team drills, with the intensity and rhythm of a starter. It didn't look like practice, it looked like a preview. The offense moved sharper. The energy spiked. Even the defense seemed more alert when he was under center. Myles Garrett joked to a teammate, It feels like game day when 12's out there. Stefanski might pretend not to notice, but the shift was undeniable. Assistant coaches lingered longer around Shadur's drills. Andrew Berea started showing up early to watch from the balcony during red zone reps. Every deep ball Sanders threw was met with knowing glances from veterans, who had seen enough quarterbacks to recognize the real thing when it stood in front of them. Behind the polished press conferences, panic brewed. The coaching staff could feel the walls closing in. What was supposed to be a developmental year had turned into a ticking clock, counting down to the inevitable. Even the most disciplined voices in the locker room started whispering, "It's not a question of if, it's when." Because here's the truth. Momentum like this can't be controlled. It can only be delayed. Stefanski has built his reputation on structure, patience, and control. But Shadur Sanders doesn't fit inside that system. He's not waiting for permission. He's waiting for his moment. And when it comes, it won't be subtle. Now the Browns stand at a crossroads. On paper, Dylan Gabriel holds the title. But in spirit, in energy, in destiny, Shedeur, Sanders holds the power. Every incomplete pass, every red zone failure, every restless crowd chant will make that truth louder until no one can ignore it. The Browns can pretend it's an even competition all they want, but everyone watching knows this story's already written. You can't outcoach momentum, you can't bench belief, and you definitely can't stop destiny. Cleveland's season might begin with Dylan Gabriel under center, but every drive he takes is one snap closer to Shadur Sanders taking over. The fans can feel it. The players can feel it. The only person pretending not to is the head coach, whose grip on the team is loosening by the day. Because destiny doesn't ask for approval, it takes the field. So, what do you think? Does Kevin Stefanski make the switch before it's too late? Or will the locker room force his hand? Will Shadur Sanders finally get his shot to lead the Browns into a new era? Or will hesitation cost them everything? Drop your thoughts below. This is a story still being written, and your take might just predict the next chapter. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Because one thing's for sure, this isn't just another quarterback controversy. This is the birth of a movement. And in Cleveland, the clock is ticking toward one inevitable truth: it's almost Shadur time.